Hey guys, welcome to the Generic Tech Support channel. This channel is 100% for educational purposes only. Hey guys, so we're back now and we're back in our Windows Server 2025 preview. And we're going to take a look at some of the menu system, some of the pre-configuration that exists in the operating system, and see if they've actually made it better or worse. So I want to point something out, which I actually thought was pretty funny, is the background for the 2025 preview server. Now I know that this background is really something that exists somewhat the same in our Windows 11 infrastructure, but for whatever reason, because it has the white font on it in the actual folds, it looks like an OLED screen that's curved that has the blue screen of death on it. What do you guys think? Do you think that that's what that looks like? Leave something in the comments, because when I started to look at it and I saw that, I can't unsee it. So now it just looks like Microsoft, even as a joke, in the background, put a curved blue OLED screen that has the blue screen of death text on it. Now, when you're sitting here in front of it, it's really just white little dots, but for whatever reason, to me, it looks like the old blue screen of death stuff you would see in Windows 2000. So again, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think it looks like. Okay, so the purpose of this video is to really dive into our menu system to see if the Windows 11 menus have created some kind of configuration in our server setup that would be less than ideal. And to me, the fact that it's using a Windows 11 menu system at all is less than ideal. But let's jump into this and see what it actually looks like. So we're going to go into Settings. I think that's a good place for us to start. So we rename the system Preview 25. We're still on VMware. We do have Windows updates available, which we may or may not install. We'll see how it goes. If we run another Tenable scan, we'll obviously install the updates. We have the monitors, sound, notifications. So all of this stuff doesn't really matter, right? This is just preferences, right? Let's see what power looks like. So we have energy recommendations. Put my device to sleep after 10 minutes is not set, so that's probably a good thing because we don't want a server that goes to sleep. Turn off my screen after 3 minutes is not set. See, these are things that Microsoft should set automatically on servers, right? So turn off my screen should be set for 15 minutes because that's what the NIST requirement is for policy configuration. So if they did that, there would be one less step that anybody would have to do for the screen timeout is 15 minutes. They should also automatically turn on the lockout. So that way, after 15 minutes, the system would lock itself, because all servers should not be running processes. Servers should be running services, not processes. The difference is when you log out of a server, all this stuff that's running in the background should continue to run. If you have it running as processes and you log out of the server, then those processes stop running. That's why anything that you see that's an application that needs to run while the system is logged in is not designed to be run on a server or is poorly developed. So does anybody else find it ironic that we have links here for more efficient modes of Microsoft Edge, but we uninstalled Microsoft Edge? So why do we need more efficient modes for Microsoft Edge if we don't have it installed? Okay, so let's go back. So we just looked at the energy stuff. I'm assuming that idle screen. So turn off the screen after 10 minutes, or we have the option for turn off the screen after 3 minutes. So we have the same option in two different places. Why? I don't know, but it exists in two different places. However, this one is set to turn off the screen after 10 minutes. This one is not set to turn off the screen after 3 minutes. But why is it in two different places? And this is my major problem with the operating system of Microsoft Windows 11, is I find it's just not very intuitive, not very well designed, and there's a lot of excess that still exists that duplicates the same configuration in three different places. So if I set this location to turn off my screen after 3 minutes, does that change? It does. So it changes this other location. But if I change this back to 10 minutes, oh, I see. So it's because it's taking the carbon footprint and increasing it because the screen's running. But how does the server know if the screen exists? Right? So if we're consoled into this thing or RDP'd into this thing, or this thing's virtual, or it doesn't have a monitor connected to it, does this option exist? Does it still give you the power options? Because right now, keep in mind, we're on VMware. So technically, I can turn on RDP, and I could disable the monitor. I'm wondering if this would even show up, or if it does, why? It just doesn't seem very smart to me to have it multiple places. If you want to have energy recommendations, put all of the energy stuff under the energy recommendation. Again, sloppy. Okay, so energy saver, so reduce power, is off. Well then, what's the difference between an energy saver and an energy recommendation if the energy recommendation saves energy? Seems stupid to me. Does anybody else think this is stupid? Please put it down in the comments if you think the menu system in this thing is stupid the way the power system is laid out. Now, I assume that the rest of this is going to be garbage too, but we'll get into that. So power buttons and controls. So pressing the power button on the PC will shut down. I would think you'd want that as do nothing. Do you really want anybody walking up to your server and holding the power button down for 5 to 10 seconds to disable it or shut it down? Doesn't seem very smart to me. I would think that you'd want that to say do nothing. You'd want to modify that, obviously, after you got the system wherever you need it to be. If it's in a locked rack, then obviously that's fine. If you have a lockable bezel on the front of the actual server, then this really doesn't make any difference because you'd have to unlock it to get to it. But it doesn't seem very smart to allow people to shut the system down by holding the button in the front of the server. Okay, so power is bizarre. Let's go back into system. So we have the activation, we have troubleshooting, we have recovery. Let's take a look at recovery and see what we have. We could fix a problem with this PC. We could do advanced startup on a restart. So that's all nice, I guess, to have. I mean, it is really kind of stuff from the desktop pulled over to it. It seems like an afterthought, but it is nice that it exists. I would really hate to be in a situation where I would have to use that, though. Usually you want to have somebody that knows enough about servers that they don't have to use the Microsoft Windows menu system to restore or recover a server. That seems pretty scary to me as a systems engineer. Okay, so projecting this PC. Well, I would hope, right? Because typically you don't have wireless turned on a server. Now, again, obviously, if you're using it as a desktop, it changes things, but usually not turned on. It's actually not installed by default on the server. Remote desktop. So we have remote desktop turned off. We have NLA, which is required, and we do have the default port. I do find it interesting that we have a default port. If I turn this on, can I modify this port? I sure can. So what is the point of that? Why display the port in the actual server configuration if it's turned off? See, that lowers security, and the reason why is because if you go into the registry, you could change this to like 43389, which is also part of that Granite XP build that I have going, where it modifies the actual RDP port. But if it displays the modified RDP port on the system, and somebody was hacking into the infrastructure and got access to the server, they would be able to see the terminal server port displayed right here on the screen, which from a security standpoint seems pretty stupid. Now realize you could use the netstack commands and the task list commands through the command line to find the remote desktop port, but you would have to have a level of computer skill to do that. Putting it on the screen here removes that required skill. So if you have somebody that hacks into the system that stole the software, purchased the software off the dark web, they can now view the 3389 port on the splash screen and don't actually need the skill to pull the information back through your command line, through the logic. Okay, so now we have remote desktop users. Let's check what this does. So administrator already has access. We can add users here. It's interesting that they added this here and removed it. I'm assuming, presumably, removed it from Computer Manager. Let's check that. They sure didn't. It still exists. So there's remote desktop users. So I guess for S and giggles, let's add a new user. So we added Todd. Let's go into groups now. Let's go to remote desktop users. Let's add Todd. Okay, so if this is linked to the other location, it should now show up here. And it does. So what they did is they added a desktop configuration menu system to a server. And I don't know why you do that, right? Because all you're doing is increasing the overhead of the server, making the server slower. Seems pretty stupid to me. So I'll be honest with you, so far I'm not really all that impressed with the server operating system, at least the GUI. Again, most of the time when I install these servers, I do it headlessly because the GUI frustrates me. Mostly because it's such like an afterthought. It's like the integration of the desktop stuff. It's bloated and it's slow. So I don't really see the point in running it. So let's continue on. So we have Bluetooth and devices. Because that's just what you want. You want to enable Bluetooth on a server. That seems like a really bad idea. So there's cameras. It's good that it's turned off by default in the privacy settings. Printers and scanners. So interestingly, we have a print configuration here, but the question is do we have a print server already installed? We don't. So the print server is not installed, but we do have print server structure here. I fail to see why that's a good thing to do, because what it's doing is it's allowing people that don't understand server configurations to install printers, and then they'll end up with issues where like the print nightmare patches won't work correctly and their clients won't be able to access them. So this seems like a dumb thing to do too. Let's go into mouse configuration. I guess, customize mouse. So handwriting panel on a server seems pointless. Autoplay, I'm hoping this is off by default. Of course not, it's on, which is terrible. Because now if you plug a thumb drive in and it's got ransomware on it, this thing will automatically play it on the server, which is really, really dumb. So this should be turned off by default, but clearly it's not. USB notifications. So not only does it autoplay it, but it doesn't tell you if the device is plugged into it. It just seems really stupid. All right, so let's look at network and internet. Advanced network configuration. Network sharing. So file and print sharing is turned on. Network discovery is turned off. I turn it off by default, so it's probably on me. So now we're doing public, private, and all networks, and we have file and print sharing turned on. Password protected sharing is turned on for all networks. Now, I find it bizarre that you would want to have this on a server. Generally speaking, you want to be in private mode all the time on a server. You don't want your server discoverable. That's why you have VLAN configurations for the most part. Because you only want to allow certain things through it to connect and discover your server. So let's continue on, because clearly this is desktop. So once again, this is all desktop. Apps, which I guess is the new thing now, is they're installing apps, not just applications and installed executables and MSIs on servers. So now there's access to the app store from the server, which started to become a thing in 2022. It doesn't really exist in 2019. Quite frankly, I think 2019 might be the last good server operating system based off of 22 and what I'm seeing here in 25. I would probably avoid this. Luckily, they'll eventually come out with Windows 12 or the new kernel, the .3 kernel, and hopefully that just replaces this junk, because as of now, I'm still not a fan of Windows 11. Still think Windows 11 is a boat anchor. Server 2022 is, well, from the previous video, you saw how good Edge is. And now Server 2025, we can uninstall Edge, so that gives us somewhat of a one-up here, but we don't have the IE security configuration any longer, and a lot of this garbage is just duplicate configurations that exist in server management that are from the desktop. Quite frankly, I don't think the settings panel should exist at all in the server. So if we go to the accounts, local administrator. So that's the nice thing, is you still can install this as a local account. You don't need an online account to install Server 2025. However, the vast majority of the configuration here is going to require some kind of Azure integration service to work. So we'll get to that at some point, probably in the next video. For now, we'll just continue to look through the menu system here and take a look and see what we got going on. Time and language. We're not in Pacific Zone, we're in Eastern. So let's go in here and see if we could actually make that change. And we can. So that means they fixed the bug finally from 2019 server. So in 2019 server, there was a bug where you couldn't change the time zone unless you ran timedate.cpl as admin through a command line. It appears they finally fixed that, which it only took them, I guess, 6 years. I guess that's not bad to how to fix a clock that's been in Windows for 30. So this all looks good here. Let's go into accessibility. Voice, interesting. Eye tracking. That's good. That's what you want, is eye tracking on the server. So I don't know how many of you guys have seen Hackers, the movie, but the eye tracking always makes me think about the Gibson. If you guys know what that is, leave a comment down below. If you guys haven't seen Hackers, check it out for Angelina Jolie reasons that I can't disclose or describe on here, but you'll thank me later. Just, you know, when you do, leave a comment down below and you'll know why. Hey guys, don't spoil it for the ones that haven't seen it. All right, so let's look at app permissions. We have location services, which is off, which is good. However, the Microsoft Windows apps and services can override the connection defaults for location and notify when app requests on location. So by default, that's turned on, which is a concern because, again, for privacy purposes, you really don't want anything to know the location of the system. Camera system. Camera access is on by default. See, microphone access is on by default. So all of this stuff in a server, in my opinion, should be disabled. It shouldn't be turned on by default. You want to have the most amount of security on your server as possible, and then you want to reduce the security yourself as the administrator of the server. You don't want to have it all turned on and accessible and everything open and able to communicate from the outside. Now, obviously, that makes it easier to set things up, but that's not more secure. And on a server, you want to keep it secure because the server has 24/7 access to the internet, presumably. Unless you have your VLAN configuration, your firewall, and you sandbox systems, and you only allow certain things, you have WSUS server for updates, blah, 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 blah. Then that's a different story. But the vast majority of servers that I've seen, especially in small businesses, have 24/7 access to the internet. You don't want all this garbage able to communicate into the internet because people will connect to the camera and they'll watch. People will connect to the audio system, they'll listen. People will connect to the microphone. People will connect to everything. People will play MP3s through your audio system. It's just how it works. I mean, that's just the nature of the game here. You want less is more in a server configuration. So phone calls, phone access, on. All this stuff should be turned off by default. It's amazing to me that Microsoft has it turned on. Even though this is a beta, you would think they would have spent some time to disable access, all this stuff. Now, presumably, the reason why like the file system access is turned on is because of file shares. And there is an additional function now in the file permissions where you can isolate applications. You could also turn on a quick configuration, QUIC configuration, that's supposed to fix the SMB sharing stuff on the 2025 server. Those are things on the configuration that we'll get into when we start to build these servers out and see what they actually offer over a 2019 server or a 2016 server. But right now, we're still looking at the menu system, which is a mess. So there we go. We do have updates available. We can install the updates. I'm not going to, but we can. We could pause the updates. We have an update history. Get the latest updates as soon as they're available. Receive Microsoft product updates. Get me up to date. Download updates over metered connection. Notify when the restart is required to finish updates. Active hours. Wow, this is really stupid. This is something you absolutely don't want on a server. So servers don't have active hours. All servers are 24/7 active hours. And the reason why is because you're not just using the server during the day. You're using the server during the day for your access. But at night, if you're hosting like a SQL server, it's going to re-index the SQL server. Presumably, if you're not hosting a SQL server and say you're running backups, the backups are going to run after hours. They're not going to run during the day. So having this set to an active hour schedule is really stupid. And if you drill down into these, you'll notice that there is no minutes. So you can't just say, okay, let's adjust this thing and set this thing for active hours and blah, 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 so it won't. That doesn't work. So this system now, based off of this, would reboot itself after the active hours are completed, which is bad on a server. You don't want your server randomly rebooting itself. That's not a good thing. You want the ability to run your own updates, reboot your own server. So that way, if the server doesn't come up, you have a contingency plan to fix the server. If it does it at random times and you don't know what KBs are installed because it has the update configuration to download the updates and then it'll apply the updates after hours, you don't have that. So now you're going to have to guess. So that's going to require a WSUS policy configuration to stop this stupid thing from applying updates willy-nilly. Let's look at delivery optimization. Well, it is good that it's turned off, that it does not download updates from other systems. Definitely don't want that turned on. You can configure bandwidth settings. That's actually really awesome. Activity monitor. Download statistics. So this is cool. If you have sharing turned on, you can see where the updates are actually coming from on your infrastructure. That's pretty neat too. I actually like those things. That's pretty cool. Recovery console. Once again, we're going back to system configuration. Let's go back into our updates here and check this out. So the recovery console brings us back to system. So once again, now we have updates where we have our configuration in two different places for the same stupid thing. Why? Why is that necessary? You can't click on system to get to the updates, which causes confusion because what happens is you can't walk somebody through and be like, oh yeah, if you go here and click on this, they do it. Because then they'll be like, well, I see this over here, and you don't know what they're looking at because you don't know that there's a duplicate of the configuration because Microsoft changes things so often and frequently. So this is kind of dumb. Let's go now into our restart apps location. So we have a configuration here for the PC when the PC wakes up from sleep. Why is the server going to sleep? Servers shouldn't sleep. So this shouldn't exist. And obviously, I can't change it because there's no other option for do nothing. That doesn't exist either. We could have never, but we don't want that. We want to actually have the system not go to sleep. So why does this exist? So now we have dynamic lock. Allow Windows to automatically lock your system when you're away. Okay. Dynamic lock only works with Bluetooth. So I guess you've got to connect your phone to Bluetooth to the server. And you really want that because Microsoft, in the beginning when we did the installation of the server, is going to send this data to Microsoft. So Microsoft is going to know when you're in front of the server and when you're away from the server. Anybody Microsoft reports that data to is going to know when you're in front of the server or when you're away from the server. I don't know that I like this. I don't think this is a really good feature to have because what if somebody steals your phone off your desk? Presumably they could walk up to the server and unlock the server. That doesn't seem like a very smart decision. Also, it's really easy to clone devices. Automatically save credentials for restartable apps. Show account details such as email login on screen, off and off. Those are good. You don't want to show the account details because if somebody knows that your email associates to the server and you have admin access, presumably if somebody walks past the screen and sees your account information, they'll be able to spend all their time trying to crack your account so they can get into the server. So you don't really want to give them those additional means of access to your infrastructure. So we have lock screen and personalization. So it's kind of cool that you have the ability now to easily browse for photos and change your lock screen. That's nice. You could do it in 2019, but it required some configuration that wasn't in an easy-to-reach location. So putting your company splash screen on the background is kind of cool. Kind of like that. That's kind of neat. But again, we're now in personalization, right? We're no longer in Windows Updates because the menus all link back to different parts of the menu, which just is frustrating, right? Because I started out in here and this is where I want to be. So if I go into Restart Apps, I'm now in Accounts. But why does that link there? Why is it necessary to put these things in 15 different places? It just doesn't make any sense. It's just very muddy and confusing because now you have things all over the place. And quite frankly, why is this menu better than just going into computer management? How is this more difficult than this? Oh, I want to create an account. New user. Why is that harder than going through this stupid thing and trying to find submenus and other menus of other menus to do the same thing? Not only that, we have access to other things in here. Remote access tools and RAS and our services console, our groups, users, our shared folders, sessions, open files, our event log, task schedule. All this stuff is really. Why is that more difficult than going through? It seems like this is developed by people who have never used a computer, or for people who have never used a computer. And quite frankly, in a server infrastructure, if you've never used a computer and you're on a production network, lock that computer and walk away. Because if you take the infrastructure out because you think you know Windows 11, it's not a good look. It just isn't. Okay, so now that we've determined that the menu system is a disaster, let's take a look at the rest of the menu system in here. Let's go to Control Panel and see what else is in here, if there's anything that's been changed. It doesn't appear to. Everything really looks the same as it's always looked. And if we drill down into these submenus, then clearly you'll see we're still in the security configuration or the configuration of Control Panel. We go to User Accounts. We're still in Control Panel. So now user accounts now exist on the server operating system in User Accounts under Control Panel, in Settings, and also in Computer Management. And so they're in 3 different places, not including all the sublinks outside the Settings menu. So we've just now discovered that the 2025 operating system is extremely bloated with menus and options. So I would still strongly suggest if you're going to run this in any production environment when it's released is to run it headless, just because the menu is a mess. What else do we got in here that we could dig into before we start getting into our configurations? You know what, let's go to our All Apps and see what else is installed on here out of the box. So we have Windows Admin Center set up. So once again, this is an additional configuration, right? Don't really need this on here. What I don't see administrative tools. We have Windows tools, which I guess could have been admin tools at some point. I mean, if that's the case, why would they change the name? I mean, administrative tools have existed inside the Windows Start menu since Windows 2000. So for 25 years it's existed in there. They're going to pull it out now? I do like the fact that they added the terminal admin in the actual Start menu on the right click. That's helpful. Oh, look at that. So now we have power options here. We have power options in the Control Panel. We have power options in Computer Management. We have power options in Settings. We have power options inside of the Start menu. And then we have power save options inside of the carbon footprint. All presumably control the same thing. So we have 6 menus that do the same thing. So I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think down in the comments. I personally, this doesn't seem very polished. And again, it is beta, but Windows Server 2022 didn't feel polished either. And it just seems to be getting worse versus better. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to think that maybe the better solution here is to just keep what you have running. get decent hardware to run it, so that way, God forbid something happens, you can recover. And then use Linux where you can, because, boy, this thing is a mess. Now, I'm a Microsoft systems engineer and have been for 25 years. So I started in Windows 2000, Windows NT4 really, so 96, around that time, but really professionally 25 years. And I got to be honest with you, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse without ever really getting better. So I will say that the 2019 server is extremely stable. I've seen those servers run for months, close to a year, without a reboot, without any real issues. I haven't seen the same for 22, and I haven't seen the same for 2012. Not the R2. R2 is pretty stable. So again, 2019 is good. 2012 R2 is pretty stable. 2008 R2 pretty stable. 2003 R2, either one stable. 2000 systems also all stable. NT4 is legendary as far as stability is concerned. But the later operating systems, these Windows 11 kernels, they really do seem like crap. I honestly would vote, and maybe I'll throw a vote down in the comments area, if we think that Windows 11 and server operating systems based off of Windows 11 at this point might be worse than Windows ME. I would go as far as saying it is worse than Windows ME. I think Windows ME, as terrible as it was, wasn't as bloated as this. And it just wasn't as convoluted of a menu system. The menu system in this is absolutely mind-boggling terrible. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Be interested in hearing what you say. So before we end this video, I figure what I'll do is I will at least show you guys what we got going on in the Task Manager. So this system is idle. And obviously, as Task Manager opens, it causes a drastic spike in CPU, which we just saw. So on idle system process here, we're on 4 cores. We're seeing 1.9 gigs, or 24% of the memory is used for idle. I don't even have an internet connection. There's no internet connection. And at idle, we're at almost 2 gigs of memory, which is really bloated. I'm curious if we would see something much different if we ran this without the GUI. And I think maybe that's the next video, is to take a look at the core operating system and see if that's better from a functional standpoint than this thing is, because whew, that's big. 2 gigs of memory on a system that's idle is not great. Although, arguably, still better than Windows 11. Alright guys, well, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed me critiquing the menu system, which is boat anchor. Microsoft has a lot of work to do if they're going to actually release this to the public. I would definitely not recommend running this as a daily driver. It is buggy. I didn't really show it on the camera, but there were a couple menu systems that I clicked out of, and the system would just lock and freeze. So not great for that either. I don't know that I would trust this as a daily driver yet, and quite frankly, we haven't seen even it do a server function to see how heavy it is once it's running any kind of server function whatsoever, rather than just idle. So we'll get into that in the next coming videos to see how this operating system looks, what it adds. Maybe some of the things are good. We do see a couple things in here that are good, that could be exciting changes to the operating system. But for the most part, it just seems like the same crap as 2022 with a blue screen of death background, which I again I don't know how they didn't see this when they put it on the screen. So, I guess that's why I'm not marketing. All right, guys, thanks for watching.